Hello, my beautiful ladies. I am just gonna go straight to the point, and this is probably the most spontaneous video that I've ever made. I haven't made so many YouTube videos, but it's very rare where I have an idea and I feel this fire inside of me, and I just feel the need to make this. Actually, today I wanted to talk about my whole content creation journey and social media, what I've been doing with Mademoiselle Diaries, the beginning, how I even started, how I grew to almost 100K in around a year, something that I just didn't think was possible at a time. And I have zero notes. Usually I have a little notebook with me, but this time I have zero notes because this is something that is very personal, and I want to speak about this topic like I'm talking to a friend. So, where should we get started? I started my page, Mademoiselle Diaries, back in January 2024. What I was doing at the time, I was actually working part time in two jobs. So, I was in Australia living there at the time. I was panicking every single day for my visa. I just needed some sort of jobs just to sustain me while I look for a more career-based job in marketing. I was working as a waitress in this cafe, fun times. I learned how to make coffee, all that, and also at Boss in a retail store. So that was pretty cool because I learned a lot about fashion, and I thought it was just so fun, to learn about it. But I did feel some sort of stagnation at the time, with both of my jobs. I was like, oh my God, every single day felt just like I was repeating the same thing and I couldn't really grow past a point. Um, Especially like in retail or hospitality, you can't really, as a worker there, I didn't really have control of who was actually coming in um, to the store. So we had really, really low traffic, and I was just bored on my phone all day and just fooling around all day. Don't get me wrong, it was great times, but going to work and waking up for work was just not something that was pleasurable, if that makes sense. Anyway, what did I do? New Year started, and actually starting my own Instagram page and content creation has been a dream of mine for years and years. Literally, since I was 12, I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I just never did it. And it just kept coming up in my head. Like, I really want this for myself. I really want an online presence, and I really want to be able to connect with women all over the world and have that flexibility and that creative freedom. It's maybe very Gen Z of me, and it probably is. But that's what I wanted to do all of my life. And I just thought it was a silly pursuit. And people don't generally take people seriously when they say that they want to be a content creator, because every time I would kind of mention it to my friends or to my roommate at the time, I'm just gonna be a content creator and leave everything, like leave the 9 to 5. I'm not even gonna look for a job after uni. But I was saying it as a joke and we're just laughing around. But I knew that's literally what I wanted for myself. I know that whatever you see on social media is different and it's not always true. But I knew that these creators were literally making a living out of being themselves, out of learning every single day. And that very much enticed me, and it was so suited to my personality. I was obsessed with learning. I read so many books, watched so many movies. I've always been this person who's just obsessed with learning, and I felt like I had so much to share. I remember in November 2023, just before I started my Instagram page, I actually had this epiphany moment when I was watching a movie. It was Maestro, and the ending at the time, it was so beautiful. It was this zoom out scene, I believe, with this beautiful classical music. And I thought to myself, like, oh my gosh, if there only was a job where I could document this, what I'm doing every single day, taking myself to movie dates, solo movie dates, just literally romanticizing my life and learning about all of this culture. If only I could have a job and do this for a living, that would be my dream job. Um, at the time, I was kind of confused what it would look like. I thought maybe I would be a journalist, a writer, or what, I don't know. But I kind of dove into it a little bit. I started contacting even writers in Australia at the time. It was very random, but I just felt this urge, like I needed a passion project. I needed a creative outlet for the jobs that I was doing at the time that were not very stimulating me creatively. Long story short, in January 2024, it was my moment, and I was like, I am not delaying this pursuit anymore. I'm actually going to take it seriously. What I did in January, I created a new account from zero so that nobody would actually see me. None of my friends could comment on it because I had such a fear of what my friends would think about it, what my family would say about me posting all of this. It would be just so embarrassing. So I was like, okay, I want to do this, but I have a fear of people at the time. I had a fear of people and their judgments and opinions. So I made a new account from scratch, zero followers. I started posting every single day, and 2 weeks in, and I really believe that is by the grace of God. Also, for my desire and passion to be doing this for so long, and I finally did it. It was like I finally decided to just take that step. And I was fully committed to it, fully believed it, that it was going to work. My goal at the time from when creating this page was to earn 10K. I wrote that in my journal. And at the time, I was like, 10K is so big. I don't even know if I will be able to reach this in a year, maybe 2, 3 years, but 10K in a year, that's a lot. Guess what happens 3 weeks after I started that account? I hit 10K. And I really believe actually that this is not necessarily just because of the algorithm, da da da, all these technical tools, all these strategies. No, I had zero strategy in mind, but let me tell you, I had a drive and I had a passion for it and I had authenticity from the beginning. At the time, not a lot of people were talking about jazz, not a lot of people were talking about Dostoevsky, who even is Dostoevsky. And I told myself, if I'm gonna do content creation, I wanted to be so authentic to who I am. I shared all things femininity and it felt so aligned with me at the time. When I look back, even January 2024, not a lot of women were talking about feminine energy and all of that. Like I felt a little bit scared to share this because a lot of feminists are super against this. And I don't think feminism and femininity has to be this separate thing. Like I really believe you can empower women by being your most feminine self because I've seen it in my own life, that finally embracing my feminine energy and embracing what God has given me, the qualities that He has given me, it made me feel just more at ease and at peace in life. So I started sharing more about that and perhaps some unpopular opinions. I had 2 reels that went viral and it was quite controversial. I had hate comments, I had people who were supportive from the get-go. And this is kind of what I've realized with social media is you have to be authentic with who you are. And it's actually okay and it's actually sadly a good sign that if you do receive hate comment, if people start to either hate you or they love you, this is kind of what we're aiming at. We're not just aiming to post what everyone else is posting. It just feels so tiring. Sometimes you see on social media, it's like people are losing personality. All influencers look the same. And I did not want to be like that. I didn't want to post as posts that you see everywhere on social media is just not authentic. Fast forward to March, I had already grown to 15 to 20K at this point, and I quit my waitressing and retail job. I got a full-time job in this sales agency. I was in the marketing side or admin side as well. I thought that this job would give me the satisfaction and the fulfillment that I've been craving for a while. And I thought that, okay, once I have this job, a full-time career job, that I would just wake up every day with so much joy and excitement for what I was doing. That feeling lasted for a week. Soon enough, I realized, wow, I'm not even very fulfilled in this job, and I wake up every day in such dread. And it's crazy because I've been dreaming about this. I've been dreaming about this moment for so long, and I got it, and it felt like nothing. It felt like the opposite of what I wanted to do with my life. I did not want to be stuck in an 8 to 4, to be just on my desk. Sometimes I finish what I have to do, half the day. I try to be very productive in the morning. And for the afternoon, I would just pretend to work. I would just waste time. And I hated that feeling. I hated the feeling of not tapping into my full potential and not feeling like what I'm doing every single day will actually make a difference. This job, I mainly took it because they promised me that they could sponsor my visa in Australia at the time. And guess what happens? Last minute, I find out that I can't even be sponsored for a visa by this company. So in July, I had to move out of Australia. And honestly, it was weird because at the time when I found out that my visa can be processed for a day, I was so numb and I was like, whoa, this is like my worst nightmare. I have to go back home. I have built a whole new life in Australia. My partner is there. You know, I have to do long distance. It was just the worst nightmare. But after a few days, I felt this sort of freedom and I was like, oh my goodness, God, you are so good. You have put me in a situation where I have to literally make it work for myself. I finally was in a position where I had no other option than to literally make this thing, this content creation, working for myself work. I had to make it work because I actually didn't want to come back to Indonesia, which is where I grew up, and just find a job because the salary here for those who live in Indonesia or Southeast Asia is quite low and it would not pay my expenses. I had a loan from my French business school and it would not help me pay my expenses. So I started to really put my mind to it. When I left Australia, I had 30K. And every single month after that, when I left Australia, I was gaining 10K each month. If not, some months it would be more than that. In a span of 3 or 4 months, I think I grew 40 to 50K. And that was the most growth that I've seen on my consecration because I was left with no option but to just make this work. When I came back to Indonesia, what I did is literally spend all day working on my brand and trying to find clients, teaching other women how to build also a social media presence. I really stick to a certain routine. That's what I've learned from having a 9 to 5. You know, I would wake up at the same time every single day. I did not want to sleep in and just, okay, I'm working for myself. I can do whatever I want. Yes, technically you can, and that's amazing to have flexibility, but you have to have discipline when you want to make things work. Like any other thing in life, you have to have a certain discipline, a certain routine. So waking up at the same time every single day, I was working all day, 8, 10, 12 hours. I was on this all day. I was reaching out to brands locally or internationally and friends as well. I was spending so much time doing this, and little by little, I started being invited to events with Benefit Cosmetics, La Senza, The Balm, Kiehl's, all of this. And it was just a dream come true. Every single time I entered these rooms, I was like, how is this real? How is this real? Like, I cannot believe it. And I was also invited to Fashion Week, and all my fashion girls know being invited to Fashion Week. And I thought, like, who is Aurelia? I'm nobody, but I'm still invited. And I was just, this is the coolest thing in the world. And that's why I started teaching other women as well who want to get into content creation. But one thing that I want to say, I did not have this pressure, like I have to make this money by this date. And I didn't give myself that pressure because this is like a lifelong dream. This is like a lifelong journey as well. And it takes time to actually build a brand. Yes, it only took me around a year to have around 90K, but still though, like it takes time, and there were so many months where I was losing followers and I gained it all back and more. So you have to be super patient with it and fully believe in your vision with what you actually want to share on social media. It can't just be like, I want to be an influencer, I want to work with brands, I want to be famous, and I want to have matcha at 10 a.m. with my friends on a Monday. Like, no, have a bigger vision than that. And that will actually sustain you in the harder months. Because although, yes, I finally felt like I have responsibility over my life when I started working on this project on myself, but with that also comes stress. I was under so much stress. I had my student loan to pay and I was freaking out, but hey, I made it work so far. I'm still alive and doing pretty well. Like, it's not just like all fun and games. Like, you have to really believe in your vision and your purpose behind being on social media. Pursuing fame in itself, it's so fleeting, and that's why you see so many influencers who go viral one day and then the next day you don't hear about them at all. You have to have a true calling and true vision. And for me, it was to actually help women find their inner mademoiselles. That's how I would summarize it in a line. And what that means is just helping women to become their most elegant self, for them to actually realize their sense of worth, have a confidence that is unshakable and that comes from God. Because this is something that I've lived through, and I've personally been in situationships in the past where I had zero sense of self-respect. I sought male validation constantly and it just ate me alive. I had zero self-expression. I was just not living in my full potential. And it's only when I developed a relationship with God that I found my true worth. And I also saw these women from especially classic Hollywood, the way that they spoke, the way that they behaved, they carry themselves, having good manners, good etiquette. These are all things that I've learned and that have changed my life. And I know that it can change every woman's life. I really believe in this. I really, really believe in this power. And after that, I've also created a school group, a community group where literally the woman can talk to themselves. If they want certain tips on how to be more elegant in this facet of life, they can just ask each other. And we meet now, we have a book club, movie club. You see, it's so much deeper than just I want to be able to collaborate with brands and get paid to be myself. And of course, those are amazing things, and trust me, collaborating with these brands were just a dream come true. But these are just what comes with when you seek your purpose and when you serve other people. Then the brands will notice you, the people will notice you, and they will support your mission and everything. But you have to have a serving mindset. And this is what I always tell the girls that I work with. You have to have a serving mindset. Don't post selfishly just for your own glory. Literally post for God's glory, for women, for the people that you actually want to serve. At the end of the day, this is social media, it's just a tool. You can use it as a tool. You have to have your own vision and know your calling first. And you have to know what really puts your heart in fire, what you are passionate about. And it could be the simplest and silliest thing. For me, it was classics. I loved reading and watching classics. It was also finding confidence through faith, having a relationship with God, all of these things. This is what I was passionate about. Who knew that this could actually be a job? If I told people like, oh, like, yeah, I want to do a job revolving around like classics, jazz, people would laugh at me. Literally, people laughed at me and think like, you don't even want to work. But trust me, I've never worked as hard as I am now. But the rewards that come with it, the smiles that I see on women's faces, the conversations that we have on our calls, and when the women are interacting with one another, seeing the vulnerability amongst women, I would not be able to achieve any of this if I was stuck in my job. If I thought that my ideas were just silly and I could not be doing anything with it. You have to truly believe in your vision. You literally have to be your number one supporter. I'm really, really grateful that I have a partner who believes in me so much, who in days where I really want to give up everything, because it can be stressful sometimes, to work for yourself. He's there to really encourage me and remind me of what I've done already in the past. And it's so important to have that support system, but you also have to be your number one advocate. You have to trust in your vision, because no one else will if you don't. If I would advise any of you ladies, is to first connect with your creator, know what your calling in life is, know what sets fire in your heart. What is your calling, not only for this life, but in eternity? What are the changes that you want to happen in this world? I know that all Gen Z talking about, I want to make an impact and I want to make an impact. And it's true. We all want to feel like we make an impact. We all want to make a difference in the world. But that is too broad, and you should know exactly what your mission is, what you want to bring to this world, how you want to serve other people. Pro tip is to literally just look in your life and look at the problems and the things that you have overcome. And maybe that's what it is. For me, it was gaining that sense of self-respect that I actually want to now help other women do the same. I feel like a motivational speaker right now, but I hope that it was helpful. Find your calling, find your why you even want to create on social media, and start posting. If you need to, create a new account where people won't find you and literally just post consistently. Don't give so much pressure to yourself. I would say literally stick to it for 3 months, even more. Sometimes you won't see a change for a long time, and then one reel, one post goes viral, and that changes everything. And lastly, I'm not here to actually bash any 9 to 5. I think a 9 to 5 is really great. It's awesome. Maybe I'll actually go back in the future. Who knows what my life will look like? But I also want to speak to you ladies who actually want something of yourself. If you really want to pursue this, you have to know that in the beginning it won't be it actually you won't have the perhaps salary of a 9 to 5 directly. You'll be stressed out a lot and you'll be wondering, oh my gosh, why is it not making me enough money, da da da. And that's where you kind of had to stop yourself and ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to have stability? No, I'm not doing this to have stability. This is not my why. My goal in life is not to have financial stability. My goal is so much bigger than that. So you have to prepare yourself mentally if you really want to go all in on this, on working for yourself, on content creation. You have to have your why, and that's it. That's literally it. If you ladies need help and support, I'm happy to respond to any of your questions in the comments, or you can DM me. I also work with clients one on one, so I'll link all of that down below. But ladies, I really encourage you to seek your calling. My number one desire for you ladies is for you to actually walk in your purpose and in your calling. It is hard sometimes, but it is so worth it, and the fulfillment that comes from it is like no other. All right, my beautiful mademoiselles, I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Mwah!